So I've had my notes for this video done for a few weeks now, but life. Hey everyone, I'm here today with my wrap up for books 6 through 18. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the two books that were picked for me. If you're new to my channel or haven't seen my wrap-ups so far for 2019, usually these will only be about 5 books. I'll explain why a little later in the video, why this one is so many. But I'm committing that 2 books every wrap-up that I do will be ones that were picked for me, either on this channel or a couple of picks I have from Facebook and Twitter. If you want to pick something for me, there is a link down to my owned TBR shelf on Goodreads. I'm asking that all of the picks come from my owned books, so just take a look through that and comment any book on that list down below, and I will put it into the list. I have a spreadsheet where I'm keeping up with, like, if multiple people pick the same book and stuff like that. So the first book that was picked for me was picked by a friend on Facebook. It's the only one that I actually have a physical copy of with me, and that is The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. This is my second Ray Bradbury book. I did read Fahrenheit 451 in high school and absolutely loved it, so I wanted to check out more stuff by this author for a while, and I will definitely be doing that more in the future because this was 5 out of 5 for me. This book is a collection of sci-fi short stories. They are all their own separate little contained stories, but they form an overarching narrative that tells like one big longer story. So the first story, I have it written down, it starts in January of 1999, and the final story in the book was in October of 2026. So they do take place over all of those years, and instead of titles, they are just titled whatever month and year that they take place in. And I really liked how that was done, how there's not really a lot of recurring characters, but there will be references that make it clear that it is all in the same timeline. I will tell you, if this is something that kind of turns you off from a book, it definitely reads of its time, which was the 1950s, so you know, all the racism and sexism and stuff like that. With that said, I was really happy with the kind of takes and jabs at colonialism that the stories kind of all have as an overarching thing. It's definitely a harsh criticism of colonialism, and it was interesting to see that in the lens of Martian colonization, so that was really interesting. It is also a rather short book. My edition is 182 pages, so if you like short story format, older sci-fi, and are looking for something that is kind of a shorter collection, I would definitely recommend this book. My second owned book that was picked for me, several people picked. I know I had a couple friends on Facebook, Goodreads, Twitter. I forgot exactly how many people picked it, but it was several. I will put the cover picture somewhere here because I have it as an ebook. It's Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I ended up giving this a 4.5 out of 5. I can't really exactly put into words what knocked off that half star. It was just something about the format felt just a tiny bit lacking enough where I didn't feel like I could give it a full 5 out of 5 stars. But it is written as just like a collection of the stories of the Norse myth put together in a timeline that kind of makes sense, chronologically-ish. It was a really interesting read. The Norse pantheon and Norse mythology is something that I'm interested to read more about. I have read like a couple tiny little stories here and there, so there were some things that were familiar to me, but there were a lot of myths and stories that were completely new to me, and I will definitely be checking out some more Norse pantheon related books, both fiction and nonfiction, in the future. So if you have any recommendations for that, feel free to let me know. But if you are a fan of Neil Gaiman and a fan of the Norse mythos, then I think that you would really enjoy this collection, and I'm really glad I got to it and that so many people recommended it to me. Book number 8 for 2019 is The Hecatomb by J. Edward Neal. I hope I'm saying that title right. If it's Hecatomb or Hecatomb, I'm not quite sure. But I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I read the whole thing in like 2 days. So it really captured my attention and just kind of it pulled me in. This one is another collection of short stories all set in the same world. It's a really interesting format because, as it says in the synopsis, it's kind of up to the reader to decide what order chronologically the stories take place in. And I know that sounds like, when I first read it, I was like, how are you not gonna know like what stories take place? And the first couple stories, I was like, I have a pretty good idea what order they take place in. And then as I read more stories throughout the book, I kind of got less and less sure of myself which order things take place in because of the references and stuff. It's just one of those things that's hard to explain, but if you read it, you'll kind of understand what I mean. That it's very much is up to you to kind of decide what order all of these stories came in, but they were all 5 out of 5 stories for me. I just absolutely loved the whole thing. It had a very like creeping Lovecraftian air to the horror. It wasn't like really in your face or like book equivalent of jump scary or super gory type thing. It was very like overwhelming, you can't do anything about it, and it's just slowly taking over everything kind of horror. So if that's something that you're looking for, I would definitely recommend this collection. So the next few books are the reason that this wrap-up is longer than 5, which is what I wanted to keep my wrap-ups to, and that's because I went and got volumes 1 through 8 of Saga from the library and just like binge read those 8 volumes. Yeah. Volumes 1 through 3 were a reread. I had already read them previously, but I wanted to get back into the series because I did really enjoy it back when I originally read those 3, and I've just been meaning to get back into it and catch up, and I saw that they had 1 through 8 at my library. I put a hold on it, got them all, and like I said, just kind of binged through. It was just as fantastic as I was hoping it would be. The library, a couple weeks after I returned them, did get volume 9 in. I'm waiting to check that out though, because honestly, I don't know if I'm emotionally ready. I've heard and read from some reviews that apparently it's just like ripping people apart emotionally. Apparently volume 9 is just like a fucking tear your heart out feels bomb, and I don't know that I'm ready for that right now. So I'm probably gonna wait to read volume 9 for a little bit, because I've just got a lot of life stuff, and my mental health has already been kind of shaky, and I just don't need that right now. But I really enjoyed my reread. I think I gave all of them either 4 or 5 stars. So it's really nice to jump back into that world and get to just kind of binge it. I would really recommend it. It's a really popular one, so it's pretty easy to find places, either stores to buy it, or most of the time most libraries have it. So if you've been wanting to get into it, I would definitely check it out. Next, I read volume 1 of Children of the Sea, and that was by Daisuke Igarashi. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. This is a series that I've wanted to read for quite a while, and it was just okay, which is why I only read volume 1 for now. I will continue the series at some point, because it did interest me just enough where I'm curious about the whole mysterious happenings. Just not curious enough to immediately pick it up right now, because the first volume was a little bit on the meh side. The basic synopsis for this was that there's a character named Ruka, and she saw a ghost at this aquarium that her dad works at when she was really little, and now she's a little bit older. I believe she's like a teenager now, and she feels really drawn to this aquarium and still remembers seeing this ghost, and she meets these 2 boys at the aquarium who were apparently raised by dugongs in the sea, and the people that work at the aquarium are like taking care of these boys, and there's a bunch of mysterious stuff happening. And there's also something like weird going on with Ruka's mom. It seems like she used to work at the aquarium, but then something weird happened. I don't know. There's just like a bunch of weird vibes and mystery stuff going on with her. So I'm really curious what's up with that. I feel like one of the problems is that this volume threw way too many separate mystery things in your face in one volume and didn't really give you any kind of clues or solutions for any of them. It was just mystery, 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 mystery. And it felt like it was a little bit too much. So I am going to continue because the mysteries were interesting. It was just kind of overload. So eventually I will pick up the rest of the series. And if by like volume 3 I feel like none of my questions are answered, I'll probably end up just giving up. Last was Odyssey Volume 1, and honestly, this one was kind of a disappointment. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. I will say, to say the positive, the art is absolutely gorgeous. It's so beautiful. But I just didn't like the storytelling format. I felt like it didn't work. It was very disjointed and confusing. And the art was so overwhelming. It was really beautiful, but I felt like there were times where almost the art made following the text of the story more difficult than it already was. And to be fair, I'm not super, it's been a while since I've read the source material that this is an adaptation of. So if I had read that more recently, I may have enjoyed this or followed this a little better. So that might just be a me problem. Well, I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. My next one will be another weird one because it will be my creature feature-a-thon wrap up. But after that, I'll be returning to the format of about 5 books, with 2 of them being ones that are picked. I really love some more picks from my channel, so once again, if you want to check out the list of my owned books, this whole project is to help me try to make a dent in my unread owned books. So feel free to browse that list, pick. You can pick more than one if you want, I don't care, because I am kind of running low on picks, so I am going to run out of things picked for me before the end of the year if nobody else picks things for me. I hope you are having a wonderful day and or evening. Good night, bookworms.